Two 200-pound warheads, 1 port, 10 days of paralysis. At 10:02 a.m., Ukraine didn't just strike TUAPPS, they weaponized Russia's confidence in its own air defenses. Stay with me, we'll unpack how 12 LORCS UJ-22s flew like seabirds to drain interceptors and map blind spots, clearing a terrain-hugging lane for 2 Flamingo cruise missiles. You'll see how Pier 167 unraveled, manifolds, foam control, dispatch cabin, before the tankers MT Chai Liberia and Coast Buster turned into pillars of fire. How does under $1 million halt a $6 billion artery? Let's break the playbook. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Why hit a port instead of a warship? Because money drives tempo. Stop the cash and you slow the fight. TUAPPS wasn't just a pier, it was a switchyard for crude, pipeline feed, and sanction dodgers. Every tanker that cleared those hoses kept fuel, salaries, and spare parts moving. That made it a decisive node, and hitting nodes is how a smaller force bends a bigger one. But this node sat under a canopy of Russian air defenses. Layered systems along the coast promised to swat anything inbound. On paper, guns, short-range interceptors, and medium-range launchers overlapped like roof shingles. In practice, the shield depended on how sensors sorted noise from threat.
Russia launched 2 Iskander-M ballistic missiles and 128 strike drones, of which Ukrainian air forces reportedly intercepted as many as 91. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said today on X that the attack had forced Romania to evacuate a border village. A Turkish vessel carrying thousands of tons of LPG is burning just 500 meters from the village of Plauru. President Zelensky hailed the deal as a crucial part of Ukraine's winter energy strategy, saying that in total Kyiv has agreements in place to cover nearly €2 billion in gas imports needed to offset losses from Russian strikes on domestic production.
That's the seam a patient planner hunts. Coastal radar fights the sea. Waves throw back energy. The lower you fly, the more you vanish into clutter. Sensors look down and see a smear, foam, spray, birds, and small craft wakes. Autofilters scrub the feed so humans aren't drowning in false tracks. The scrub is where cheap drones live. Small radar returns often get treated as background, and background gets ignored until it's not. Add geometry. Shore radars sit on masts or hills, which creates a shallow slice near the waterline where line of sight is weak. Terrain folds inland make more dead ground. Stitch all that with moving blind spots from rotating dishes and handoffs between sectors, and you get gaps you can time, cross, and be gone before a human turns their head. That's where the UJ-22 profile matters. Compact body. Low radar cross-section in bands that also pick up seabirds. Slow and steady, almost lazy. At low altitude, those traits push the autoclassifiers toward harmless. Not a sleek dart.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said before he'll consider peace talks, Russia must meet one condition.
Stop shelling us, stop killing civilians.
It wants to continue to brutalize the Ukrainian people, wants to continue to shell their cities and towns.
In the last 12 months, Russia has killed tens of thousands of Ukrainian men, women, and children.
Uprooted more than 13 million people from their homes, bombed more than 700 hospitals, and yet the spirit of the Ukrainians remains unbroken. If anything, it's stronger than ever.
Not a hard, fast return. More like weather. Operators who stare at that feed all shift long learn to filter with their gut. That habit saves sanity. It also creates a bias that can be exploited. So 12 drones went up early. Not in parade lines. Not stacked on a single axis. They hugged the coast and drifted, then jogged, then leveled out. Paths that looked organic. No clean timing marks. No symmetry. Each one a tiny decision for a human staring into gray. Engage, and you burn an interceptor on something that might be junk. Hold fire, and you risk missing the one that matters. That's the defender's dilemma. Interceptors aren't infinite. Every launch takes time to reload and resets crew rhythm. Fire too much, and you lose depth. Fire too little, and the unknown gets closer. Meanwhile, the watch floor fills with crosstalk. One radar paints a trace. Another doesn't. Electro-optical feeds chase glints off waves. Sector chiefs shift coverage to help a neighbor. Each small change misaligns the quilt.
The rhythm turned. Drones soaked the attention. They probed, they lingered, they forced operators to chase low-contrast contacts at the edge of their screens. Command chains slowed as calls stacked up. ID checks, authorization, deconfliction. The net stayed active, but it stopped being efficient. That's the currency of defense. Time and bandwidth. Spend it poorly and you open doors without seeing them. Meanwhile, the missiles didn't race the water. They threaded land. Terrain-hugging routes from the north, slicing under the main radar lobes that pointed seaward. Not stealth by magic, stealth by math. If your beam shape looks south and your filters bias against slow clutter near the coast, a disciplined flight plan can stay in the seams, popping up only when it must and never long enough to hold a solid track. The mini payoff lands here. The port wasn't the first thing hit. The defenses were. Not with shrapnel, with workload, with doubt, with a flood of decisions that drained readiness, one radar sweep at a time. The batteries had range. The crews had training. But their attention was sold to the cheapest bidders in the sky. That purchase bought a narrow corridor and a quiet approach. While eyes stayed on the sea-skimming birds, two heavy bodies slid through the inland gaps and pointed their noses at the oil racks. Not a rush, a timed walk. That's how you break a fortress, by making it look at the wrong door long enough for the real one to open. Precision deception bought time. A weaker force turned confidence into the breach. 10 days of choke on a $6 billion artery came from low-cost tools, tight timing, and a defender trained to trust filters. The lesson lands hard. Clutter isn't noise. It's a weapon when you shape it. You face the same trade. Do you fire early and drain interceptors? Or hold for the unknown and risk a clean lane? What would you do? Comment your choice below. If you track how brains beat armor, subscribe. The next decisive strike may not look like a missile at all. It may look like birds on a screen.